Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Sarah Jane. This is Gift of Healing TV. And as you can see, I have my guest with me tonight. He's actually right here. This is Richard Ellis, who, for those of you who have watched us from the very beginning, you may remember Richard was with us earlier this year. And I'm just trying to think how far back.
I think it was like May.
Yeah, it was quite a way back this year. So Richard and sharing Reiki with us, and Reiki will come up in tonight's conversation, but we're talking about what makes an effective healer. But before we go any further, and I'm going to introduce Richard to you. Richard Ellis is the author of 3 books on Reiki and a complementary health practitioner specializing in the relationship between mind and body. He is a teacher of Reiki, a clinical hypnotherapist, NLP practitioner, and a teacher of 5-element Qigong. Richard's career is complementary therapy, teeth in, folks, sorry, I do apologize, in complementary therapy, early 1990s, completing his training as a Reiki instructor in early 1995. He then continued to work alongside his teacher, June Woods, whilst living at the Findhorn Foundation in Scotland. Following a period of travel and international teaching, he was approached to write his first book, Empower Your Life with Reiki, published by Hodder and Stoughton in 1999. He was also published in the United States by Sterling Publishing and retitled Practical Reiki, going on to be translated into several languages. I do apologize, folks. I sometimes get very confused when I'm reading out loud. I'm not the best. Following the success of Practical Reiki, he started work on his second book, Reiki and the 7 Chakras, published in 2002 by Vermilion. It has been translated into several languages and has sold over 40,000 copies in the English language. His keen interest in the chakra system, the nature of disease, and the link between mind and body has led him to develop his own training program utilizing posture analysis and non-verbal communication called The Body Never Lies. Richard runs his healing practice from East Dorset in England, which isn't far from where I am. Which is why he's with us this evening. Richard, welcome, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Yeah, a couple of days before Christmas.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Richard, share a little about. I mean, I've started reading. That's the Heart of Reiki, folks, and that's really glary with the light, but and that's got quite a bit about some of the travels that you did. But share a little of your story. How did you come to Reiki? What?
Well, I think I talked about it in the last program a little bit as well. But for me, I was working in London as a fashion photographer, and slowly, I think it dawned on me that I was becoming disillusioned with the whole world of fashion, the stereotypes and images that were being enforced on people, and just wasn't really happy living in central London anymore. And one thing led to another, and I ended up in the Findhorn community up in Scotland. And I had quite a strong series of experiences, emotional releases and things like that as a result of being up there. And I decided I needed to understand what was really going on, both energetically within myself and in the world. It's like it changed my whole context of how I viewed myself and the world around me. And there was a lady called June Woods that was teaching at the time up there. She was one of the very early Reiki masters in the country. She lived in a little caravan up there. And so I went and met her and chatted to her and decided it was a path for me to follow. So I went and trained with her, decided to go and move up to the Findhorn community after a while. It was quite funny because I was trying to bridge these two worlds, and they were completely opposite worlds. And so, you know, on the one hand, I'd be there photographing famous people and fashion models and stuff in London. And then on the other hand, I'd be up there with sort of what I now describe as lovely people. At the time I thought were just hippies, you know, in caravans. And I think it dawned on me one day when I tried to get everybody to hold hands and share in a photographic studio that I needed to be somewhere else. So I went and lived in Findhorn. And I didn't look back really. Reiki for me made sense of my own world, the way that I felt, the sensitivities that I developed and experienced. And I decided that that was the path I should take, and I started teaching it.
Yeah.
So that's, you know, kind of a long time ago now, and it's changed a lot, Reiki, since then. I see it as a really simple hanger on which to sort of put a lot of other things, you know, to hold a space for other people. It's a very simple and effective way to work with people.
Yeah. Reiki's been an awakener for an awful lot of people. It really has, me included. So
yeah,
so, yeah, absolutely. Let's get down to the subject this evening. What makes an effective healer? I have issues with the word healer. What does the word healer mean to you?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's an interesting question, because normally when people think of healer, they think of someone magical, you know, someone that can give or create or facilitate some kind of change in another person. And in a sense, just that notion is all about giving your power away to someone else. And in fact, I think Reiki has in some ways been rife with that kind of ideology. You know, we go to a Reiki master, we go and see a Reiki healer, and through what they do, there's some kind of transformation that takes place in our own life, but we don't do that ourselves, you know. Well, that's been the notion. And I think that's a real misunderstanding of the term, like you say. For me, a healer is somebody who simply holds a space for other people to become whole within, to awaken wholeness within themselves. So in a sense, being a Reiki therapist or a Reiki teacher is just simply providing the space, providing the environment, providing the energetic support and emotional support for that person to make a transformation, become whole to the best of their capabilities at the time. Yeah,
it's what's right for the individual. And the way I've heard somebody else put it is, we offer a tool to help empower their own self-healing, and what they do with that tool is totally up to them. Something or nothing. But we've asked that question, what makes an effective healer? And to me, if there's somebody out there looking for me to do it for them, or for somebody else to do it for them, my reaction is, I can't.
No.
I can offer you that tool, I can offer you Reiki, whatever the technique is, even a massage. It can be offered to you, but until you are ready, and your higher self, your body, whatever you want to call it, is ready.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I mean, I see many clients, but there was a client I saw today, and you know, I've seen them over the last probably about 3 months now. And I started to use Reiki. I was doing hypnosis and other things with this person, and I started to use Reiki about 4 weeks. The first session I did, I was saying, you know, what is your experience of what's taking place here in this interaction? It was really important for me to ask that question of her, and she was lying there going, I don't feel anything. Nothing's happening. Now, in the 20 years ago, I would have started to flip out with that. You know, what do you mean nothing's happening? Something must be happening. You know, I'm a healer. But you know, being confident within my own I suppose relationship to Reiki, and being aware of what I was experiencing, I was able to say, okay, that's fine. You know, that's where you are right now. No one feels nothing, but your ability to perceive what's taking place is at that level. Fast forward 3 weeks, and my hands are over the same part of the body, and I don't even have to ask that, and she's going, my God, I'm feeling all this movement, all this energy shifting inside me. So just watching that shift over a period of 3 weeks shows me that the awakening is happening within her. You know, the same thing's going on for me. I'm just holding the space, you know. Now, if I was to take what she said 3 weeks ago to heart and start thinking personal performance in relationship to healing and to her, then I might start to try I might start to push. I might start to will something to take place, which is a little bit like trying to push a river. You can't do it. It just moves, you know. So, and as soon as we start doing that, we're moving out of a simple relationship to flow. And we stop allowing and we start trying and doing and making things happen. And of course, we can't.
No. Not
when it comes to healing. So I thought that was a really interesting a representation in the sense of that idea. You know,
I actually have the opposite, because I don't feel anything
when
I'm offering.
Before, yeah.
I don't feel anything when I'm offering, but then the client, it's just, and I've been accused of cooking people. There's been so much heat coming from, and I haven't felt a thing.
Yeah.
Which means I have to do everything totally on trust.
Mm-hmm.
Which means I can't get. I remember somebody saying to me, "Oh, well, if you don't feel anything, how do you know where to direct it?" Which I'm afraid, folks, really put me in a, I don't direct it, I offer it.
Exactly, yeah.
But as we were saying before, everybody has to find the right person for them. Just because it's not a way, from the sounds of it, you or I like to work, doesn't mean that that person isn't totally right for somebody else. So what makes an effective healer, practitioner, sort of therapist, is a very difficult one, because it's, who do you resonate with? Who do you feel is the right person for you?
Well, awareness and becoming whole, awakening, those kinds of notions, they're part of an unfolding process, aren't they?
Yeah.
So, where I was 20 years ago is different from where I am today, and different from where I'll be, next week and in the next 10 years. So, I might gravitate, as you say, towards somebody right now because I feel that I'm resonating there. They're able to give me the answers I need. And that'll be a completely different person to who I would want to resonate with in the future and have done in the past. So you're right. There is no definitive perfect solution or perfect healer. There is nothing that we should try and attain. However, I would say there are some certain guidelines in terms of holding a space for people that we could adhere to. And that goes outside of the parameters of Reiki as well. We're talking in context of Reiki, but a lot of these things are true of anybody who's holding a space, whether it's an NLP practitioner or a hypnotherapist or a massage therapist, whatever. I think one of the most important things is not having a set outcome in mind and not making it about you. It's not about you. And so often with my students, they'll come along and they'll learn about Reiki, and right from the very beginning, I'm saying, like, it's not about you. Okay, just relax and let it flow. It's nothing to do with you. You can't get it wrong. You can't do anything wrong here. And they'll learn it and they're going, yeah, this is really great. And then when I see them next time, it's like, I'm not sure I'm doing it right. I'm not sure it's working. I'm worried about this. I'm worried about that. And I'm like, what did I say? It's not about you. Don't make it about you.
Stay detached.
Or be engaged, but don't in your mind think that you in some way are affecting an outcome. Be engaged with the process.
Yeah, engage with the process, but detached from the outcome.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yes.
Release and release the need to have any kind of outcome at all. I would say that was one of the principal components that makes a really effective therapist. Usually the person that's being most effective is the one that doesn't really care what the outcome is, ironically.
Yes, and you're totally right. And as I was sort of saying earlier, I say to my clients, please don't think I don't care. I do care. I care enough to let go. I don't hold on to your story. I don't make copious notes, because if I let go of it, I'm not preventing you from letting go of it.
Yeah, I like that.
And I've had so many occasions where people have come to the next session. Oh, Sarah, that was brilliant. What you said to me. And it's just like, well, what did I say to you? Yeah. And I have no idea what they're talking about. I really cannot remember. But because I've let go of it, it's allowed the outcome that was totally right for them without me needing to be involved in it at all.
Well, that probably leads us to the second part. You know, the first part would be about letting go of outcomes. The second part is about bringing yourself into a present moment, awareness. You know, it's like if we're here completely present with another human being, then something magical takes place. We start to access a flow of energy through ourselves, and it is, you know, moment like the now moment it doesn't really exist, because as soon as we're sort of in the now moment, we've moved on to the next one and so on. So that there is no now moment. There is just a presence of flow, particularly in the context of healing, I think. And when we're in that, then we're open to all sorts of intuitive advice and guidance, and we find ourselves saying things or picking up on stuff, or hearing stuff and offering possibly suggestions, or even just being moved to certain areas that require require us to concentrate on. And we often invariably forget what we've been doing. Like a client will come back to me as well the next week, and they'll say, oh, this and this and this was amazing, and then I'll have to sit there and scratch my head and go, hang on a minute, I'm just trying to remember what we did, even, you know, because it's gone, you know.
Yeah. It is the totally sort of stepping outside of any outcome for that individual, allowing them to be totally in control.
Yeah.
And I know there are folks out there that you look and you think, I'm going to go to a healer because I want them to heal me. It's that magic. It's that thinking about the old witches in the woods, etc. And yes, but the energies, you think of modern day medication, they work for some people and they don't for others. It's an energy. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Not everything works for everybody. It depends on that place you're in.
Yeah, or maybe it doesn't work in the way that we expect it to work. You know, I think, you know, it was interesting being NLP trained, because, you know, one of the things is a well-formed outcome. You know, it's like a really big thing in NLP. We have to have a well-formed outcome. The thing is if we don't achieve that, we feel a failure, both as a practitioner and as a client. You know, well, we haven't got there. We've got somewhere completely different, you know. And I love the idea of not having an outcome in mind, you know.
Yeah.
I love the fact that someone just comes in and in a sense, we don't even talk about the story so much as we just engage with the energy and see what happens. And it takes a lot of confidence to do that.
Yeah.
And I think I probably was better at it 20 years ago. Because I didn't have so much training and experience then, so I would just sort of stand there and give healing, or hold a space for healing to happen, and in a way that it was more innocent, you know, in its flow. In fact, you often see in Reiki groups, it's the Reiki 1 groups where a lot of transformation takes place. And I know to a certain sense, people coming into Reiki 1, there's more transformation that needs to take place. There's you know, the introduction to the energy facilitates that, but it's always nice to watch someone who's never done this before on the first afternoon facilitating a massive transformation for someone, an emotional release, and they're standing there going, what on earth is going on?
But I think, Reiki level, it's the why I did it. That what I was told, the first person you treat is yourself. And so if you treat level 1 Reiki as I believe it should be, which is it's about you, it's not about others. Yes, by all means work with others, but providing the majority of what you do is for yourself, then of course that's going to be where the biggest transformation comes, because you're then only moving on to level 2 masters and teachers as you grow. And therefore, you know, hopefully what you've managed to do is start getting, but it's all layers of the onion, isn't it? We refer to the healing process as being like stripping away the layers of an onion. And I think onion is a great analogy also, because when you cut into an onion you get tears and you start crying, and crying can be the most amazing release. So I never see crying as being a problem.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, sort of, I know people will, no, don't try stopping to cry, carry on crying, there's tissue, you just enjoy a good old cry. And I'm there with a great big grin on my face, not because I want them to suffer, it's because I am so pleased for them that they're actually releasing some of the energies that they've been holding. Well,
it's how the body knows, you know, the body knows how to release. And often when someone is crying or even sobbing, you know, you see these big shakes going through the body, and particularly, you know, the diaphragm is is doing this sobbing action, and all of that suppressed, held together tension, both on a muscular level and an emotional level, starts to be released up into expression. Now, if that's to make whole, yeah, let's go for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I always think it's a great way of release. But laughter's quite good fun too.
Oh yes, yes. I actually say to clients, especially the first time they come, if you feel you need to laugh, cry, scratch an itch, move, whatever, just do it. Don't think I can't. Or, coughing's another one. If you need to do anything like that, just do it.
Yeah.
Because all of those, all of those are a release. And if you're there, I don't move. I don't cough, I don't cry, I don't sneeze, don't laugh. It's just like, no, do it, move.
Well, I mean, it's interesting, you probably have noticed it yourself as a practitioner. Quite often, the most common thing to happen is that someone will release emotionally through tears. But then, as they continue their healing journey, then other things start to take place. And they may well start, coughing as they're trying to clear, for example, the throat center and the communication center. Or they may start laughing hysterically as absurd ideas come into their minds, or they're remembering things. Or there's twitches and shakes and vibration through the body. It's quite interesting to watch how that develops in someone, and over a period of time, they develop their own sort of way of self-transformation and transmutation of energy. And it's quite often appears from the outside to be quite a violent thing in some people. You get really big sort of jumps and shakes, and involuntary spasming. But they're completely okay with it, because that's sort of what's developed within themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And so as the practitioner, as the therapist, as I prefer to refer to it, it's allowing. It is totally about allowing. And if somebody, oh gosh, it's okay.
Absolutely.
You're just releasing.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. And you keep them calm. That's all. It's just about allowing, holding space, offering, and having no attachment to outcome.
Yeah, I think so. In a nutshell.
Sorry, folks. but I know that because you've just mentioned the throat center.
Yeah.
And of course, one of the things we were obviously going to be sharing was to do with the chakras, and I can't see what we put down here. It was to do with the chakras. Because you've talked about the outcomes, but do chakras have a place within the Reiki system, or are they simply an add-on by Western lineage?
Well, I think they are an add-on. John Gray was the main proponent of chakra theory. He had a theory of emotionality, I think it was called. His belief was that the muscles held on to suppressed emotion through contraction and restricted the flow of energy through the chakra system. So, of course, back in the late 70s, early 80s, the chakra system was a very big part of the West Coast of American methodology. A lot of yogic type practitioners there. So I think it has become an add-on through the Western lineage. If you go back to more Eastern philosophy, then really you're dealing with, in Japan, the Hara system, of which there's only one energy center, and that's the Seika Tanden. And they borrowed that from Chinese methodology, and that is the three diamonds, or the three treasures, or the three dantians. So the lower dantian in Chinese philosophy is the same dantian or tanden in Japanese philosophy. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, for those that don't know tanden.
So yeah, basically what that means is it's an energy reservoir, and the lower dantian or tanden is right below the belly button here, and it's really just seen as a reservoir where we pool and resource from both the earth and also from the heavens above, yin and yang energy, and create a surplus of chi energy, which will then flow through the system. And the Japanese philosophy is that memory, Seika Tanden in the lower abdomen, in the Hara, needs to be fueled and filled up for us to be able to have any reserves to give to other people, to give chi energy to other people. So that would be the primary philosophy that someone like Mikao Usui would have operated from. But then we got to sort of the late 70s, early 80s, and you know, Hawaii Takata students were introducing from Vedic tradition the chakra system. And so there's this sort of split now. You know, the purists are saying, oh yeah, but there never was the chakra system in the early disciplines. But actually the Vedas sort of predate a lot of the philosophy anyway. So I see it as very much a similar thing. There's a lot of similarities there. There's a central channel. There's nadis rather than meridians, and energies flowing through the body. The same sort of energy centers exist, but we've just got add-ons to it. There's more energy centers. What I like about chakra theory is it's a really good way of observing your client in terms of where things are blocked in their body, and the emotional and psychological aspects or attributes to those chakras give you a huge insight into what's going on for that person. And as you start to clear the chakras, you start to see an unfolding through all of the chakra system, and in a sense it gives you a way to work with the client over a period of time. You can see the development. I think before we came on air tonight, you were talking about taking everything back to the inner child. And invariably when you're working with the chakras, what you'll see is that most of the issues are sitting around the sacral. I mean, you tell me someone who hasn't got self-worth issues and boundary issues, you know, and I'll tell you a lie, you know. So, you know, we're always going to go back to those lower chakras in terms of, you know, the emotional development or the lack of sort of positive influences around someone in their early years, and how it's affected both their self-worth, their personal value, the way in which they treat themselves and allow other people to treat them. Now, in terms of a boundary issue, the place that gets verbalized is obviously through the throat chakra. So they work in unison, and I think they're a wonderful addition, even if they are an addition to any kind of therapeutic work. And well, I wrote a book about it, so I think I think the chakra system's great, personally.
There's no two ways about that. I mean, I must remember I was doing a Reiki session, or working with Reiki with somebody, and as much as I don't see things and hear things, I became very aware at the solar plexus that I don't see things, but in this particular person, and it's come with so many other people, I see the solar plexus as like a well, because it's the core of our being. And that is where everybody chucks everything they haven't dealt with. And in this particular person, the lid was off, but the festering gunk underneath it. So somebody had actually cleared the lid, but everything else was still there. Everything that they buried, because we're all at any age, oh no, can't deal with that now, I'll deal with it later. Oh, I didn't deal with it at the time, it's gone away now. And you haven't dealt with it, you haven't acknowledged it, you haven't let it go, so you've buried it. So it hasn't gone away. And obviously we've buried an awful lot from very young years that we really had no idea how to deal with. Even if we know how to deal with things today, we didn't then. We just don't find time today as an adult. And I said to this particular person afterwards, I said, your well is full. I said, the lid's off. No, I had a session of something, and I really genuinely cannot remember what the something was. And they told me they had cleared everything. And I said to them, I am really sorry. They removed the lid, but everything else is still in there. Obviously, understandably, I didn't see that person again because they didn't believe me. But do you know, that didn't worry me in the least bit, because I know what I became aware of. And I do struggle when people say, I have cleared everything for you, or I have cleared that for you, unless you are totally at that space of letting that thing go. Nobody can move it for you until you let it go.
No, and I think, you know, going back to emotional releases, you know, the solar plexus is really the home of the ego. So it's where will exerts itself. Now, if we're going to suppress anything, you know, it's a huge act of will to hold it down there. And a lot of the time that stuff wants to be buried and never seen again. So you can understand why people choose to do that unconsciously. Yeah. However, you know, if you move into a healing space where there's a heart space, what that tends to do is stimulate the solar plexus to release and unwind. I always give the analogy of, you know, a forceful energy, like, you know, like a fist meeting another fist. It just, everything becomes hard. Yeah. But if you want to break down that forceful energy, you know, you need that gentle, open, caressing heart energy to soften it and give it space. And when that happens, when the solar plexus finally says, you know what, I need to soften and let go here, you have an emotional release usually, and that diaphragm starts sobbing and vibrating and releasing that energy. And of course, what it's releasing is, as you say, is that stuff that's being buried down below it. And it's not surprising for me that the diaphragm, I would always suggest to nearly everybody that's working, you know, start with the diaphragm, start with the solar plexus, because this is where we interact with the outside world. This is basically where we have to digest the external world, and where our tolerances or intolerances are highlighted, you know, where our ego clashes and power issues and conflicts and all of those things are manifest is right there in that solar plexus chakra. So what a great place to start, because somebody who's coming for healing to become whole is really trying to make a journey from that place to their heart. You know, and I always call it the rainbow bridge, to go from this solar plexus chakra to the heart. And that's what they're trying to achieve. And unconsciously, that's why they've come to a Reiki therapist or any other therapist, because that's really what you're doing. You're holding a heart space, isn't it, for someone, a loving space. Of course, once you do manage to make some kind of journey towards the heart center and surrender and let go in the solar plexus, you know, then you're meeting the energy from the higher chakras that are coming down, and that is your true self. You know, that is your higher self or true self, or whatever, however you want to describe it. So then we've got a sort of a downward flow of true self energy meeting the upward trend of self-created identity, you know, and something beautiful occurs within the heart. You get a merging or a mixing and an integration of those two aspects, and a refinement of the ego. You know, you're never going to surrender your ego completely. You need that. You know, it's a really important part of life.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, it makes us do things. It motivates us to do stuff. But what you don't want is an ego that is wounded and hurt and suppressing loads of negative issues from childhood, and you know, keeps you stuck in an angry place, which is basically, you know.
But then, okay, I see the ego, the mind. It has done an absolutely amazing job of protecting us as a child.
Mm-hmm.
The trouble is, we're no longer children, but our ego, our mind, still sees us as a child. Yeah. And it is therefore still acting. It is a learned behavior for it to act in that same way of protection. And that protection is to create that monkey mind, that mind chatter, that fear, false evidence appearing real.
Yeah.
And it's a matter of, and the way I put it is, it's a matter of asking your heart. You're saying your heart is your CEO of your life. And to me, your ego has been the accountant. Because accountants tend, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do the other. You're not spending any money. Change the role of your ego.
Yeah.
Promote them to be the personal assistant to the heart.
Yeah, I like that.
Because personal assistants help make things happen. They will still bring in the odd, sorry, can't book that hotel, but I've got an alternative for you. Sorry, you can't fly to the moon. You don't have enough money, but I've got this brilliant person who does meditation. You can go to the moon in meditation. It will come, the PA will come alternative. It will come up with a way of making heart choices happen. But it's always saying thank you to your ego, to your mind, for the protection and for the fabulous job it did for you as a child.
Yeah, I like to often say, you know, become a loving servant rather than a controlling master, you know, which is exactly what you're talking about there. It's this surrendering of ego into service, on some level, on becoming the loving servant of this wisdom and inspiration, you know, that comes downwards through the upper chakras, and we meet in the heart, you know, that. So yeah, I mean, the chakras as an add-on, as we say, to the practice of Reiki, I can only see as a good thing. And even though I understand the arguments against it, and a lot of purists would say, oh no, you know, there's only one energy center in the body. It's an invaluable add-on, I think, if you really want to work with people properly. You know?
But then, haven't we got something like in excess of 200,000 chakras?
Well,
because yeah, but you know, we work with our hands, and there are chakras in the palms of our hands.
Yeah.
You know, sort of, we've got the earth chakra, which is down below our feet, and then we've got chakras above our heads. We've got, you know, so there are chakras everywhere in our body, energy centers. It is just that within Reiki, you tend to work with the 7 main ones, but then there's the higher heart, or the thymus, isn't there? There are.
Oh yeah, I mean you can go to town, and I suppose in some ways, you know, when I hear that kind of thing, then it even leans me more towards the sacred tanden theory and the one energy center, because if you're going to teach anybody anything, you know, you would want to teach them to ground, bring their awareness back into their body, be aware of the earth beneath them. You know, the earth is such an invaluable asset for anyone who's doing any therapeutic work, because it's where we compost stuff. So, you know, breathing down into the hara, connecting with the earth, you know, gives you a really good mindful, grounded attitude, and rather than flying off somewhere, you know, and connecting to something out there. I mean, I know a lot of therapists who work that way, and I think we talked about it on the last program. I don't, you know, I really like to be present. I work with my eyes open, you know. I want to watch what's going on. I want to see the non-verbal cues and tells and movement and language that's taking place, and then I'm part of that unfolding healing journey for someone, and I find that fascinating to observe, you know, when I'm working with people, and I don't want to close my eyes.
And I work the opposite.
You close your eyes.
Close my eyes because I suppose because I have never felt anything. Occasionally I pick them, felt anything, and it's just like. And I trust. I'm one of these people. I've been known to have tears streaming down my cheeks for people. But we're all different, and that's why it's find the right person for you.
Yeah.
My own Reiki master was very much, I can teach you, but find your own way. Don't copy me. The only person who can be me is me. You can't be another me. Be yourself.
Yeah.
And I do work my own way. I still work within the guidelines, but I have my own way of work. If I'm going, there will be times I will ask people to ground. Take your roots down into the earth.
Yeah. That
grounding. But I actually also work with, there are times when it's healing, cleansing fire around the couch, a healing, cleansing stream under the couch for any negative energies that are flowing off, so that they are cleansed, whether it be by fire or water. That's not something my own Reiki master taught me. It was just something that came to me as a way that I like to. So maybe it's bringing in some of the Native American, the shaman. I don't know. I've never studied that side, but it feels right to me, because it does feel right. If there are negative energies that are leaving people, that they are cleansed. My personal way of working. So find. If a session doesn't work with somebody, maybe they aren't. To me, there are 3 aspects to any session. Doesn't matter whether it's Reiki, an Indian head massage, whatever it is. And first one's the therapist. If you don't feel comfortable, don't resonate with the therapist, you won't get the best out of the session. I'm not saying you won't get anything out of it. You won't get the best, because you are unlikely to relax. I love it. I adore it when people go to sleep with me. I really do, because I feel they're getting their head out of the way and they're allowing the energy to do exactly what it needs to.
Mm-hmm.
The second is the room. If it's a room you're uncomfortable in, and I do not have a white clinical therapy room, I really don't. It's my room. It's got my personality. It's got the colors I like in it. It brings its own energy. And that's what it should be. If you're not comfortable in that room, and finally, it's the actual practice. Because if you can't relax with the first two, I'm not saying you'll never get anything out of that particular practice, that technique from that person. But I have heard so many times from people, I've tried that, didn't work for me. And it doesn't have to be that the practice was wrong. It was just that the practitioner wasn't the right practitioner for you. And it is about finding that right person.
It is, and it's funny because, you know, for me, the ambience of a space is absolutely critical.
Yeah.
But I like burning incense. I like creating a space and preparing a space in that way. But sometimes I have clients come in and start coughing and choking, and I'm like, okay, I've ever done it with them. So I have to be infinitely adaptable.
Yeah.
In working with clients, and also think about, you know, what they're coming for as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like that. Those three things, I would agree with you on that.
Yeah. So we're actually coming. Oh God, this is what comes of talking about things that we love. We've got so little time left to go. Is there anything? What have we got there, Cheryl?
Cheryl.
Hi, Richard and Sarah. I have to agree. I really like using the chakra system in my work and have found it so useful. It's so useful in seeing what is going on for a client, at the time, and also identifying triggers for particular ailments. Should I feel a block in a certain part of the body? Absolutely. It works in so many ways. But you know, it is important that we all find our own way of working. We've had the conversation. I work with sound energy, and I now realize that what I bring is vocal Reiki. So the Reiki aspect is still absolutely an essential part, a core part of what I do.
Mm-hmm.
But I bringing the chakras, people bringing crystals. It's working with what works.
Find the person for you. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So thank you for that, Cheryl.
Yeah, thanks, Cheryl. That's good.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you got any final words you'd like to share with people before we wind up?
Well, no, just to really reiterate what we were saying at the beginning, that be prepared. You know, prepare yourself. Be mindful. Be grounded as a practitioner, and be present. You know, be present in what you're actually doing and what's taking place, and don't make it about you.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a performance, you know, and healing is not a performance. Healing is really just you holding a space and opening up your heart and engaging with another human being, and allowing yourself to really feel with great compassion where they are, and hold a space of potentiality for them to transform within. And that's it, really.
Absolutely.
As soon as you're trying, as soon as you've got an outcome, I mean, sometimes a client will leave and they'll be in bits, you know, with me, and they'll be all over the place. Now, in the past, I'd have worried about that, because I'd have thought, well, you know, I've got to unzip them, heal them, and zip them back up and send them out grounded with all their chakras closed and all perfect. You know, I don't do that anymore. I just basically allow the energy to do whatever it needs to do. And if they leave in bits, they leave in bits, you know, because they're their own therapist, and they know what's right for them.
Yeah.
And sometimes they'll need to be in bits for a week or so to process and think about things.
It's the healing process.
Exactly. So whatever happens is perfect, is probably the best way to look at it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. You're direct with folks if they want to sort of get in touch with you, find out more about what you're doing.
It's www.practicalreiki.com. Also on Facebook is Richard Ellis Facebook page.
Yeah, brilliant. Folks, please, and I'll for those of you that are watching now live, I think you'll actually find that on our About Us page under Richard's information. So please go and have a look there. And when you're watching the YouTube video, after tomorrow morning, I will make sure it's under the YouTube video as well. If you want to find Richard's previous program, that's on our catch-up pages under interviews. You'll find that, and it's actually under there as well. So please feel free to watch that as well. Richard, thank you so much indeed.
Thanks for having me back.
Absolute pleasure. And I've loved I always enjoy conversations with my guests. We actually have 2 programs for you next week, folks. We start our new intuitive healing channel next week on Monday. And that's getting messages from your guides and angels through animal totems. So I am really looking forward to that with June Connor. And then on Wednesday, the 30th, I am joined by David McLeod and Tommy Stoffel, the Soul Talk guys who run Life Mastery TV. You may find that on our website as well. And we're going to be talking about the opening and closing of life's doors. So I hope you will join us for one, if not both of those programs. Have a wonderful Christmas, folks. And if you're watching this after Christmas, sorry. But, you know, we are just before Christmas. Have a brilliant week. Take care. Love, peace and light to you all.
Happy Christmas.
Happy Christmas. Namaste.